and rebuttal. It was not justice, but it was a political theater. Now, the very man who helped drive that narrative is being positioned to act as a prosecutor. That is not just inappropriate, it is a serious conflict of interest. You cannot be the evidence leader, the narrator, and the prosecutor of the same claims. The line between the law and political agenda is being blurred. We call for the immediate withdrawal of this appointment. The credibility and independence of the National Prosecuting Authority must not be sacrificed. I thank you.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise on behalf of the ANC to indicate that ANC welcomes the High Court dismissal of the DA's bid to appeal ruling on the ANC cadre deployment policy. The ANC welcomes the judgment of the High Court in Pretoria, which dismissed with contempt it deserves the DA's application for leave to appeal a ruling on the ANC's cadre deployment policy. The court finds that the party's application did not have reasonable prospects of success, a key component in the test for a leave to appeal application. The court also found that the DA failed to plead a valid constitutional attack in that it did not identify aspects of the cadre deployment policy that were unconstitutional. This is another blow to the DA's obsession with pursuing narrow-minded political gains at the expense of genuine democratic process. It must also be pointed out that the DA themselves practice cadre deployment. One only has to look at the deployments in most of the MECs in the Western Cape provincial government. Cadre deployment is a legitimate practice aligning with global democratic norms. The DA's consistent rejection of redress and transformation is a cause for concern. Even their legal challenge to the Employment Equity Amendment Act is a direct attack on South Africa's constitutional values of redress.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time is up. EFF.
Thank you, Speaker. House Chairperson, the EFF rises to note and welcome the departure of the 49 self-proclaimed Afrikaner individuals who have chosen to take up residence in the United States of America. These individuals have decided to take up residence in the US under the Afrikaner Refugee Program created by the administration of Donald Trump under the false pretense of providing refugee to Afrikaners who are under the impression that they are persecuted because they live under a democratic government which prioritizes redress for the historical injustices of the apartheid. That this House rejects the notion that there is any persecution of any racial group that will warrant refugee-seeking status in any nation, and that redress within confines of the Constitution and rule of law does not constitute discrimination. That this House notes the intervention of the US in a non-existent persecution as part of a campaign to delegitimize South Africa's normal moral standing to question the genocide of Palestinian people by the Israel state. That this House acknowledges that in the 6th administration, the National Assembly resolved on the closure of the Israel embassy and cutting of ties with Israel. That this House commits to continue to stand with all oppressed people of the world, regardless of manufactured and non-existent claims of the persecution of any racial groups, and further considers the 49 self-proclaimed Afrikaner refugees as individuals who have denounced their citizenship in South Africa and should they have their citizenship revoked. Thank you.
Thank you. The IFP.
Honorable Speaker, corruption within South Africa's Department of Home Affairs is not just an administrative issue, but strikes at the heart of our nation's identity and security. The recent dismissal of 18 officials for offenses ranging from fraudulent ID issuance to sexual harassment underscores a systematic problem that demands urgent and decisive action. These officials were entrusted with safeguarding our nation's records. Instead, they exploited their positions, compromising the very systems designed to protect us. Such actions not only erode public trust, but also pose significant risk to national security. Harsher sentences must be implemented for those found guilty and corruption within Home Affairs to restore faith in our institutions and deter future misconduct. Only through stringent consequences can we hope to eliminate the culture of impunity and ensure that our civil services operate within the integrity and transparency that South Africa deserves. While the department efforts to root out corruption are commendable, the measures taken thus far may not be sufficient deterrent. The fact that some officials receive mere warnings or short suspensions send a message that the consequences of corruption are manageable. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Being patriotic is foreign to the DA. Once again, the DA's lack of patriotism in the country it behoves to serve is on full display. Despite being part of the GNU, the DA sees it fit to question and downplay South Africa's intervention in the Democratic Republic of Congo after reports that the United States government is on course to broker a peace deal between rival groups in the region. The DA believes that Washington's intervention was more fruitful than the SADC peacekeeping mission. Their view is that while South Africa and other SADC nations have struggled for years to resolve the crisis, the United States brokered a deal in record time. The withdrawal of our troops from the DRC, rather than being seen as an outcome of the great momentum of high-level peace efforts by various actors, which included a peace agreement signed between the government and the M23 movement having been brokered with the support of the SADC, the African Union and the East African Community, the DA rather believes that the mediation was purely because of Washington. This is a clear indication of how the DA works against its own government and people, and with the flag-burning incident during the run-up to our elections still fresh in our minds, the unpatriotic behavior is perhaps the only consistent posture of this party. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The ACDP.
The ACDP is shocked by reports that many government departments have employed foreign nationals in strategic and sensitive positions that could pose a serious public risk, security risk. South African National Security Secretariat has raised concerns about hiring foreigners in sensitive roles that might even aid foreign espionage in government departments. The ACDP calls on the Speaker of the National Assembly to demand that all ministers must ensure that their departments employ more locals than foreign nationals, because some government departments seem to be favoring foreign nationals over their own locals. This is wrong, Speaker. As an example, we fail to understand why a Zimbabwean national was appointed as Chief Heritage Officer when there are hundreds of South Africans who spend years on Robben Island and can successfully serve as the Chief Heritage Officer of that UNESCO World Heritage Site and popular tourist destination. South Africans, many of whom are unemployed, deserve better, Speaker. While the ACDP supports employing the best qualified person for the job, this should start with our locals because of high unemployment. These positions, we believe, will help to reduce high unemployment if they are given to locals. Thank you.
Thank you. The DA.
Honourable Speaker, the Democratic Alliance would like to bring to the attention of this House that since PEPFAR funding was withdrawn at the end of January, thousands of patients facing healthcare workers supporting vulnerable people living with HIV and TB have lost their jobs. As a result, data shows that fewer South Africans are being tested for HIV, meaning that more HIV-positive South Africans do not know their status, undermining the 95-95-95 targets and putting at risk the gains we have made in the fight against HIV. The DA initially praised the Department of Health for the memo sent out by the Director General on 11 February that gave clear and sensible guidance to provinces and health facilities about how existing resources within clinics should be utilized to minimize the impact of funding cuts. However, it now appears that more than 3 months later, hardly any of the measures outlined in the memo have been implemented. Most notably, 6 months dispensing of ARVs to stable patients is not available anywhere except for a few clinics in the Western Cape, and the 28th late collection allowance for external ARV collections has not been implemented. We urge the Minister to ensure that the measures set out in the memo that will not cost the department a cent but will make a massive difference on the ground are implemented as a matter of urgency. We further continue to urge the Department of Health to find funding to support PEPFAR NGOs and suggest that as a start, the 20 million rands allocated this year to advertising NHI is immediately redirected. I thank you.
Thank you, UDM. UDM.
Sorry, Speaker, my gadget froze. I beg your pardon. I apologize. It is time for us to confront the glaring disparities in our nation, disparities that continue to perpetuate inequality despite the promises of a better life for all. We can no longer tolerate the slow pace of transformation. The 34% employment equity compliance rate is a reminder that we are far from the goal of true equality. While South Africans control over 62% of top management positions and men hold 73% leadership roles, the system remains stacked in the favor, especially of whites. These systemic issues are rooted in apartheid's legacy, where education, skills, and economic opportunities were denied to the majority. The statistics of Black South African learners attending under-resourced schools reveal ongoing disparities. The merit-based systems that some are proposing only serves to entrench these privileges, ensuring that the few continue to dominate leadership positions. There are also those who seek to escape the transformation we are fighting for by moving to the United States of America as so-called refugees in a new form of migration being dubbed as the Great Trek. Mabahambe asibadingi apha ngamashekelele kakade. These Afrikaners are not fleeing violence but fleeing equality itself. These individuals are moving abroad under the false pretenses of persecution. They are not refugees. They are fleeing a South Africa that strives for justice and inclusivity. They are running away from a country determined to heal and to become more equal. The truth is, these people are driven by apartheid nostalgia.
The ANC.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The ANC calls for an immediate investigation into the shocking and unauthorized visits by members of the DA, ACDP, and PA to apartheid Israel. This so-called fact-finding mission was not approved by DIRCO or Parliament. These MPs met with Israeli authorities while our own government is leading a genocide case against the very same colonial state at the ICJ. This visit is not just irresponsible. It is a betrayal of South Africans' constitutional values and our historic solidarity with the people of Palestine. This trip echoes the shameful tactics of the country's apartheid past, where the National Party invited foreign delegations to whitewash a system of racial oppression and white minority rule. Today, some MPs in this very house are playing the same role for a regime accused of genocide and of war crimes. What facts are they hoping to find when over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed, millions displaced and injured, entire cities flattened, and a famine and rape used as a weapon of war? The ICJ has already ruled a plausible case of genocide exists. So what more is there to fact find other than to justify crimes against humanity? Let us be clear. Apartheid is not a matter of opinion. It is a crime against under international law and defined and recognized by Human Rights Watch, Beit Salem, Amnesty International, and affirmed by the UN. Israel is practicing apartheid. For the South African MPs elected in a country that has endured the brutality of apartheid, to fraternize with...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time is up.
Shame on you. The South African people see which side of history you stand on. Free Palestine.
MK Party.
Somlomo ohloniphekile. Namhlanje ngisukuma egameni lomkhonto wesizwe party. Ngithulele isigqoko abadlali, abagqugquzeli kanye nabalandeli abenze umdlalo wamanqamu we-Nedbank Cup ka-2024 waba ngumdlalo kazwelonke.
Order, Honourable Member.
Umphumela ovusa amadlingozi ka-2-1 usikhumbuze ukuthi ibhola lingaphezulu komdlalo lingamandla okuletha ubumbano nenjabulo ezweni lethu. Einkundleni zemidlalo nasezindaweni zethu zokuhlala eNingizimu Afrika yonkana, abantu bakithi babehlangene ndawonye bengahlukaniswa amaqembu noma imibala, kodwa behlanganiswe uthando nokuzigqaja. Njengomkhonto wesizwe party asithathi hlangothi emqhudelwaneni yamaklabhu kodwa sibungaza umoya wobungcweti bezemidlalo kanti nentsha yethu isivezela ikhono elikhulu bayaqhubeka njalo nokusikhuthaza. Sinxusa uhulumeni kanye nababamba iqhaza ukuthi kutshalwe imali eningi ekuthuthukisweni kwezemidlalo ikakhulu emazingeni aphansi nasemphakathini entula izinsiza kusebenza. Umkhonto wesizwe party uyakholelwa ekutheni kulezi ikhathi zobunzima bezwe ezemidlalo zinikeza abantu kakhulu umuzwa wethemba ukuzigqaja kanye nenhloso efanayo. Siyabonga.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable member, is there a point of order?
Not a point of order. Good afternoon, Speaker. I just want to check if Action SA is on the member statement list.
Yes, it
we don't
is.
see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the member of the MK party was just being happy about the game and the impact of the game. So I don't want to see any signs. Order.
No, the big club has won. The people's club.
Let's not talk about who won and who lost. It's about the game. EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As EFF, we rise with a heavy heart to address the tragic loss of the 15 lives in recent head-on collision on R63 in the Eastern Cape. The horrific accident occurred just days after the Department of Transport prematurely celebrated a decrease in the road fatalities during the Easter holidays. The reality on our roads, as this tragedy shows, tells a different story. The families of those who perished are grappling with unimaginable pain. Their grief is a stark reminder that road safety remains a crisis in South Africa. While there may be reported reductions in death during specific periods, this incident underscores that fatalities remain unacceptably high. Honorable Speaker, we must ask why, despite such celebrations, deadly accidents persist on known hotspots like R63. Is this not evidence of systemic failure in our road safety efforts? Temporary reductions are not victories if the overall crisis continues. This tragedy exposes enduring gaps in enforcement, infrastructure, and driver behavior. We cannot rely on sporadic campaigns.
Thank
for
you,
seasonal
honorable member.
interventions.
Your
A
time is
consistent
up.
long-term
The ANC
strategy is required. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The ANC welcomes the approval by the Minister of Employment and Labour of almost 400 million rands wage subsidy to pay 5,956 SAPO workers for 6 months from the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme TERS. The wage subsidy signals an important milestone in the ongoing work to rescue, resuscitate, and ultimately future-proof the post office. Since the distressed SAPO went into business rescue, thousands of workers have been retrenched. The TERS funding is a necessary intervention that will safeguard jobs, create opportunities, and strengthen the efforts to resuscitate and stabilize the entity in carrying out its mandate. This intervention reaffirms the ANC's commitment to minimize job losses and work towards revitalizing and sustaining strategic state-owned entities. The ANC commends the Department of Employment and Labour for its commitment in safeguarding jobs and creating opportunities for training and further development of SAPO employees in line with its mandate. I thank you.
Thank you. The DA.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I need to say that job creation is the most effective tool to achieving redress. We only need to look at the disaster that was announced this morning, the loss of jobs. Our country, being one of the most unequal nations on earth, remains a devastating tragedy. There is universal agreement in this House that action is immediately required. If we learn from other nations that have overcome past divisions, from Germany, South Korea, Vietnam to Ireland, the common thread is a growing economy that unifies citizens by giving all a leg up to succeed. Our economy for more than a decade has barely grown, and this has torn at our fragile social fabric. But dividing South Africans according to crude racial categories that have previously inflicted tremendous pain amongst us will take steps back we cannot afford. These measures have clearly failed to bring prosperity to the overwhelming majority of South Africans. They will not grow our economy, deliver jobs, or unite South Africans. Instead, this will lead to more division as we try to slice a smaller and smaller economic pie. The DA is a firm believer in the need for redress as we seek to build South Africa. Redress is economic justice. It is dignity to the previously marginalized communities. It is economic growth. It is good jobs. It is being given the opportunity to thrive. And the most effective tool to achieving this is through an economy that allows South Africans to live to their fullest potential. With a job, you can not only put food on the table for your loved ones, but also invest in the future. A job opens boundless horizons by unleashing human potential. We urge the Department of Employment and Labour to change tack and join us in the mission towards a growing economy that delivers for all, not just the connected few. This Parliament must make it its paramount priority to do all things possible to grow our economy, deliver jobs for South Africans. Having inherited constitutional democracy, we cannot leave rampant inequality for future generations. We have the power here. Let us give South Africans growth, good jobs, and dignity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ANC.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. On Wednesday, 7 May 2025, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched the second phase of Operation Vulindlela reforms at the Union Buildings in Pretoria to unleash more rapid and inclusive economic growth. Operation Vulindlela is a joint initiative of the Presidency and National Treasury to accelerate the implementation of structural reforms and support economic recovery. It aims to modernize and transform network industries, including electricity, water, transport, digital communications. Operation Vulindlela was first established in October 2020 as a joint initiative of the Presidency and National Treasury to accelerate the implementation of structural reforms. In its first phase, the operation focused on reforms in five key areas with a high potential impact on growth and jobs: energy, logistics, telecommunications, water, and the visa system. Up to so far, 35 reform actions were prioritized across these five areas, with government departments and agencies taking responsibility for implementation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Action SA.
Honourable Speaker, while the GNU, made up of 70% of this Parliament, fails to pass a budget, South Africans should look to the example of functioning coalition governance led by Action SA in the city of Tshwane. For the first time in 3 years, Tshwane has tabled a fully funded budget, testimony to the disciplined, principled leadership of Dr. Mnasipi Moyo to fix the capital. On its path to financial recovery and sustainability, the new administration has already paid off 1 billion rand of its 6.6 billion rand Eskom debt, a debt accumulated over 8 years by the previous administration and those laughing in the House, and has reduced the debtors book to 13.5%. The city now projects cash reserves of 2.8 billion rand for the 2025-2026 financial year. Tshwane is not just balancing its books, it's enforcing accountability. Every mayoral committee member has signed a performance agreement, something the biggest cabinet in the world has failed to do. This makes service delivery measurable and leadership accountable, unlike the national GNU, which spent 184 million on travel while economic growth stagnates at 0.8%. These improvements have not gone unnoticed. GCR Ratings upgraded Tshwane's credit outlook from negative to positive, and Moody's has acknowledged the city's improved financial management, a rare endorsement in South African municipal landscape. Speaker, coalitions do not have to be chaos. Tshwane proves that. Action SA is showing that we can work in collaboration with other parties to improve
Thank
service
you,
delivery.
Honourable Member.
The
The time
contrast is
is
clear.
up.
Where the GNU fails,
Honourable
capital
Member,
coalitions work.
your time is up. Thank you very much, honourable members. Now is the time for responses by the members of the executive to the member statements. I've got Honourable Steenhuisen online.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And it was very interesting to hear the Umkhonto weSizwe parties challenge against Mr. Advocate Paul Pretorius. Now, there's a very good reason that the party of state capture would not want to see someone like Advocate Paul Pretorius getting into a position where finally we could start to put the perpetrators of state capture who've cost our country billions and billions of rands in lost opportunities. To cast aspersions on Paul Pretorius, somebody who himself was banned for 7 years by the apartheid government and who was active in NUSIS, as well as in the Legal Research Centre during the height of apartheid and oppression, standing on the right side, standing up for people against human rights abuses, would now be the target of MK's ire, is not without irony. Of course, many of those people sitting in that party today would no doubt be the recipients of a good, firm hand at the NPA to secure prosecutions and hold them finally accountable. Madam Speaker, this is not unlike the traditional behavior of the MK party, whose leader has waged a crusade against Billy Downer, also a prosecutor in the arms deal case. Very unsuccessfully, I might add, as his latest bloody nose in court demonstrated. The government of the people of South Africa and the GNU will continue to act without fear and favor.
Honourable Member, if we can stop a bit, there's a point of order. So what's the point of order?
Point of order. I think the minister is misleading. MKP is not a party of corruption. Can you just please get...
Well, Honourable Member, order, can I advise you that in terms of our rules, if a reference is made to a party other than individual, it's not unparliamentary. Thank you. Can you proceed, Honourable Member?
Not only are they a party of corruption, they're a party of state capture, and many of the state capturists sit in their benches. And that is why many of them, including their leader, are absolutely terrified at the prospect of Mr. Pretorius finally ensuring that they end up where they belong.
Honourable Member, Honourable Member, can you please withdraw that? You did not raise your point of order. I've recognized one of your members, your chief whip, and you just used the mic. Can you, thank you very much if you didn't speak, but somebody did speak from your part. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm writing on a point of order in terms of Rule 85, that the minister is busy casting aspersions on a member of a designated member, a very important person in the MK party, the leader of the MK party. He is not supposed to be doing that. Thank you.
Honourable Member, you can proceed. I will come back to the issue raised by Honourable Manye.
Well, Honourable Manye, I'm amazed that he hasn't read the rules, because you would know that that member is not a member of the House and therefore is not protected by the rules.
But you are talking nonsense.
And we know him. We know him by his real name.
Can you please switch off your mic?
And we know him by his real name. And we know him by his real name, accused number one. Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister of Justice, Honourable Nel.
Madam Speaker, very good afternoon to you and to all members. Thank you. I appreciate that the degree of flexibility in terms of from the portfolio of justice and constitutional development. Also like to respond to the statement by the Honourable Nomvalo regarding the proposed appointment of Advocate Paul Pretorius, SC. Just to say that the Minister of Justice has received a request in the Section 38 of the National Prosecuting Authority Act for the appointment of Advocate Pretorius. He would be, the intention is for him to be appointed as a strategic advisor to the investigating directorate based on his extensive experience of the evidence led before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, the Zondo Commission.
Honorable Nel, your network doesn't seem to be stable.
Okay. Is it better now?
If you can switch off the camera so that you can improve your bandwidth.
Certainly. Thank you. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. Advocate Pretorius, the intention is for Advocate Pretorius to be appointed in terms of Section 38 of the NPA Act as a strategic advisor to the investigating directorate of the NPA based on his extensive knowledge and experience of the evidence led before the Zondo Commission. He is not being appointed as a prosecutor in any of those matters, and accordingly, the question of a conflict of interest does not arise. We understand that in the words of Joel Nechitenje, that the beneficiaries of state capture will not give up without a fight. But nonetheless, we appeal to all members of this august House to stand united in the fight against corruption and state capture. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Msoleti.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also wish to ask for your indulgence to allow me to mute my video because I'm also not in a very nice space. Honorable Speaker, over the past 3 weeks or so, there have been lots of stories in the media about the imminent collapse of the world's biggest HIV and AIDS campaign, which, as you know, we launched in 2010 after discovering that the HIV and AIDS is devastating our country more than any other country in the world. We launched that campaign. That's why today we've reached the UNAIDS target of by arriving at 96, 79, 94. We did not arrive there because we were asleep. We were working very, very hard. And we've tamed the HIV/AIDS pandemic. We can talk with pride that we are no longer going to funerals in the way we're doing some 10, 15 years ago. We can say we have tamed the HIV/AIDS pandemic. Now, Trump has taken away his money from PEPFAR, about 8 billion rand, in a campaign which is funded for 46 billion rand. We are now told that our campaign has either collapsed or is about to collapse, and this has been in the media. I discovered during the question and answer of the Deputy President that Dr. Leroux, a member of the Portfolio Committee, who got the presentation on this issue, is part of this campaign. And today he has come out very openly. Honorable Speaker, we are preparing a thorough response to this. And if the rules allow, I would like to come and address this House, Parliament, about the steps we have taken and we are going we are continue to take to show that there is absolutely no collapse of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. In the instance of bringing this false news to the population, I even heard Dr. Leroux last week during the question time misleading the nation, telling them that the Department of Health failed to apply for something called emergency funding, that we should have done so in February. I was surprised. I've been in this government for ages. I did not know about something like that. I know there are disaster funds, but
Thank you,
emergency
Honorable
funding.
Member. Your time is up. Honorable Chrissy.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And I request to turn off my video because my bandwidth is not adequate. Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member of the EFF for raising the terrible, tragic accident that occurred in the Eastern Cape on the R61 over the weekend, where 16 people unfortunately lost their lives. May their souls rest in peace, and I extend my condolences and those of the Deputy Minister to their families. Honourable Member, I want to support your view that we will never deal with the carnage on our roads until we have consistent policing by national, provincial, and local authorities, consistent public education to change driver behaviour, and ongoing cooperation by all civil society institutions, including taxi associations. One of the things we all know is that long-distance driving is extremely dangerous, and the majority of accidents occur in the early hours of the morning, as did this accident. We really want to urge those long-distance associations to, as far as possible, transport passengers during daylight hours and make sure that drivers have adequate rest so that they don't take unnecessary risks while driving. I absolutely agree with the Honourable Member that we have to work tirelessly day in and day out if we want to ensure that every day happens without a road death. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes ministerial statement, but I see there's the hand of Honorable Skosana. I'm not sure there's a point of order.
Ngiyathokoza the speaker somlomo ngizizwa ngingakajabuli ngizokuberegisa nako umlawulo ukuthi uminister udeputy wanasya i-justice ukhulume into erarako lapha wathi ilento inganekwane yakaJuel Nithethenze noma ke sazi ukuthi ke ama beneficiaries waka CR17 yonke into ekhulunywako bayilahlela ngaphandle akubajamise akhe bakhulume into erehe ngiyakuthokoza somlomo.
Ngiyathokoza nami lungehloniphekile Sikhosana kodwa ke akusilo iphuzu esingathi i-point of order uvo lwakho lolo kushothi into oyibonayo oyicabangayo akusiyo into
naye into ayicabangako ayikhulumileko.
Babu Sikhosana awukwenzi lokho okwenzayo manje. I also want to indicate to honorable members, when, as I said earlier, when a reference is made in the discussion or in the debate, reference is made to a party without specifying an individual, that is not unparliamentary. Secondly, if a remark is made on an individual who's not a member of the House, that is equally not unparliamentary. So I just wanted to advise members because I think there was a mistake in that respect. I said I will come back to it, so I am now clarifying. Honorable Manye, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, with respect, I think, Chair, for the for the benefit of this House, the Chair maybe must read word for word what Rule 85 is saying, because it is very clear that is members, comma, it carries on, it says who are not members of the Assembly. So to make a ruling that is tantamount to supporting what Mr. Steenhuisen is saying is incorrect, Chair. It's incorrect because here's the book here in front of me. It covers members and non-members.
Honorable member, I don't think we'd like to have a debate on that. I would equally advise you on this rule in respect of the matter and the context in which it was done. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of the member statements. I will now move to the Secretary to read the first order.
Consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services on the oversight visit to Gauteng Province from 8 to 11 October 2024.
Honorable M.M. Sokopo.
Madam Speaker and honorable members, oversight visit to correctional centers, Madam Speaker, it's more about, it's a tool that the committee is using to give more insight to members of the committee on what is the day-to-day operations of these centers, and also to check on the challenges faced by officials and inmates. Between the 8th and the 11th of October, the committee visited 6 correctional centers in Gauteng region. The focus was more on infrastructure, rehabilitation, skills development, and social integration. As part of the visit, the committee invited Department of Public Works because part of the visit was on infrastructure, as they are the custodians of government buildings. The committee conducted announced visits to 5 correctional centers: Ntshavheni Juvenile Center in Bavianspoort, NCOP Correctional Center, Kgosimampuru, Modderby Correctional Center. In addition, the committee conducted an unannounced visit to Boksburg Correctional Center. Honorable members, the committee have observed that the infrastructure in some of the correctional centers visited was in a state of despair. For instance, the committee found that infrastructure in Modderby was like a ticking time bomb which would collapse at any time, and this might pose serious threats to both the inmates and the officials. The committee requested the Department of Correctional Service to conduct an assessment of the infrastructure in that center and identify possible solutions and submit a report to the committee. The state of kitchens in some centers visited was in a serious concern for the committee. The committee visited the kitchen in Bavianspoort Correctional Center and was not happy with the fact that the renovation that was started in 2021, while we were there in 2024, that work was not done. The committee have then asked the department to give quarterly reports in June coming, Madam Speaker. The Department of Correctional Service will come before the committee to come and account on Bavianspoort, Modderby, Sun City, and Westville as to what is the latest with regard to these kitchens. Overcrowding, Madam Speaker. The level of overcrowding in the facilities visited were very concerning to the committee. Mostly it is informed by inmates that have bails that are less than 1,000 rand, that are not able to pay these bills between 300 to 1,000 rand. And the committee encouraged the Department of Correctional Service to make use of available provisions in legislation to address this challenge. Madam Speaker, the growing number of foreign national inmates in our correctional center is one of the major concerns of the Portfolio Committee. Currently, the Department of Correctional Service houses a total of
447 foreign national inmates in its facilities, which 12,676 are sentenced. In one correctional center at Ntshavheni Juvenile Center, there's about 525 sentenced juvenile offenders. 400 are foreign nationals sentenced for various crimes, which will include immigration laws. The committee is looking at various ways in which this issue can be addressed, including engaging other departments like Home Affairs, international relations, to find a amicable solution to attend to these things, because it would need all of these departments in order for us to change the legislation. On contrabands, the committee was concerned with the number of contrabands found in correctional centers. In particular, cell phones. To date, we can report more than 40,000 cell phones have been found in these centers across the country, in fact. Drugs, dacha. The committee was then informed that by the department that there are inadequate security technologies in some centers, and it makes it very difficult for them to be able to address the issue of these contrabands. We know that these contrabands pose a risk because even offenders are attending to crimes that are happening in our townships whilst they are incarcerated. The department has been requested to come up with...
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time is up. I will now ask for declaration from the various parties. ANC. Sorry, it's the DA.
Honourable Speaker, honourable members and fellow South Africans, during the oversight visit of the Portfolio Committee to correctional facilities in Gauteng, observations made were both revealing and deeply concerning. The most pressing challenge we observe is the severe overcrowding in our prisons. Nationally, the overcrowding rate stands at approximately 46%, with some facilities housing more than 2 inmates per square meter. This situation is unsustainable and exacerbates numerous other issues within the correctional system. Overcrowding places immense strain on infrastructure, much of which is already in a state of disrepair. For instance, at Modderbeek Correctional Centre, we found non-functional kitchens, leading to food being transported from other facilities. Cells in several centres suffered from leaks and lack basic amenities like running water. Such conditions are not only inhumane but also hinder rehabilitation efforts. Budget cuts have further compounded these challenges. The Department of Correctional Services has faced a reduction of 2.525 billion rand in its baseline budget. This has led to significant staffing shortages, particularly in critical areas like security and healthcare. Currently, there is only one psychologist for every 1,294 inmates and one social worker for every 161 inmates. Such ratios are inadequate for effective rehabilitation and parole processes. A significant contributor to overcrowding is the high number of remand detainees or individuals awaiting trial. They constitute over a third of the prison population. Many are held for extensive periods due to court backlogs and delays in the justice system. These not only inflate inmate numbers, but also drains departmental resources. It's important to note that the Department of Correctional Services does not control inmate intake. It's the end user of the justice system. The judiciary and the Department of Justice must address the inefficiencies causing trial delays. The criminal case backlog exceeding 50,000, coupled with ever dwindling hours our courts are actually in session, is the main reason for our severely overcrowded prisons. A significant number of those charged in the 50,000 criminal case backlog are remanded in detention. If the numbers of remand detainees are not reduced urgently, the system risks failing. This poses a serious security risk for the state. Accelerating case processing and exploring alternatives to incarceration for minor offences could alleviate prison overcrowding. In conclusion, the challenges facing our correctional facilities are multifaceted but interconnected, with overcrowding as a result of extremely high remand detention figures at the core. Addressing this issue requires a holistic approach involving adequate funding, infrastructure maintenance, staff recruitment, and crucial reforms in the broader justice system. Only through coordinated efforts can we hope to create a correctional system that is humane, rehabilitative, and just. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MK Party.
Honorable Speaker, the progressive forces of the left, people of South Africa, the state of our correctional facilities reveal a system in complete collapse, failing in its fundamental duties to rehabilitation, incarceration, and reintegration. Instead of reforming offenders, our prisons have become gangsters' paradise, where crime is nurtured rather than corrected. As the part of vanguard society, we refuse to stay silent while these crises escalate. Our oversight visit uncovered a systemic in ruins. At Ntshavheni Youth Center, education and skills programs are starved of resources, setting young offenders on a path to re-offend rather than reform. Nationwide, a mere 28% of inmates have access to vocational training on insult, when re-offending drains 14 billion rand annually from our economy. Johannesburg crumbling infrastructure, leaking water, broken ventilation, and unsanitary conditions makes a mockery of humane incarceration. In Modabi, contraband flows freely, with corrupt officials caught smuggling cell phones to gang leaders. This is not rehabilitation, it is organized crime sanctioned by the state neglect. Worse still, overcrowding at 134% capacity means offenders leave prison more dangerous than when they entered. At the halfway houses, job placement programs, the post-release support. Instead of reintegration, we release hardened criminals back onto the street, fueling the cycle of violence. And this must end now. We demand an immediate overhaul of rehabilitation programs with 80% participation targets, and triple funding failure to meet these must trigger consequences. Military-grade security body scanners, signal jammers, and life sentence for staff caught smuggling. Prison must be crime-free zone, not gang headquarters. Independent anti-corruption task forces to purge corrupt officials, with public naming and shaming of those who betray their duty. For a national reform, including visa sanctions against government that abandon their citizens in our prisons, and fast-track repatriation treaties. The GNU failures have turned our prisons into university of crime. South Africa deserves a correctional system that corrects, not corrupt. The time is now for accountability. And we reject any claims that they are working. I thank you.
EFF.
Thank you. Greetings to the leaders of the economic freedom fighters led by Honorable CIC Malema. Deputy Speaker, the economic freedom fighters takes note of the general state of decay in most of our correctional centers, particularly Johannesburg Correctional Facility, as shown during the oversight visit. During this visit undertaken in that facility,
It came out to our attention that sewage runs freely in the facility and that it has been happening for some time. The unhealthy and absolutely hazardous stench can be detected immediately upon entrance to the facility and throughout the whole building. What makes matters worse is the fact that sewer pipes run through the kitchen areas, dripping profusely within some parts of the kitchen and underneath, causing unimaginable health hazard. It is clearly a contravention of the basic conditions of employment of 1994. What is more appalling is the fact that it is alleged that over 3 million rand is spent bi-weekly to get rid of the stand, but only for that to reoccur within days of cleanup. The EFF calls upon the government to immediately cease all operations within the center, evacuate all inmates to various centers of Gauteng and South Africa to enable complete revamping of the sewer system. Officials and staff within the center should also be committed to the institutions in accordance with the Labour Relations Act and the transfer of framework of personnel as per Public Service Act of 1994 and the Public Service Regulation of 2001. The department clearly runs the risk of fending off multiple litigation resulting from personnel and inmates inhaling the stench, thereby contributing to the existence and effect of harmful airborne bacteria, viruses, and pathogens. The EFF is relentless in advocating for healthy, clean, and humane environment for the people of our country, including those in corrective programs within the correctional facilities. The infrastructure in some facilities visited is dilapidated, and leakages are so severe it literally rains into the buildings. There's mold all over the walls, floors, and ceilings. Some kitchens don't even have enough equipment to go by. There's serious shortage of uniform for inmates and especially for officials. Some officials indicate that there's for some time, for 2 or 3 years without new uniform. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the contraband in correctional facilities remain a cause for concern. The large number of cell phones are confiscated from cells daily with little or absolutely no consequences. Department can't, or should we say, don't want to devise strategies to establish origin and subsequent possession and or use of cell phones. Of course, how would they investigate themselves? It does not take a rocket scientist to conclude that cell phones are smuggled into correctional services by officials of the department. The minister from the Freedom Front Plus, who was even absent the whole week of oversight, must pull up his socks or fix problems within the centers, particularly corrupt activities, contraband, smuggling, and security threats. The EFF will leave no stone unturned to expose any form of mismanagement and or corruption within the department. I thank you.
The IFP.
Honorable Speaker, as the IFP, we note with concern the persistent issue of overcrowding across several centers. Overcrowding not only undermines the dignity of inmates, but also strains the already overstretched infrastructure and staff. We support the committee's call for the department to fast-track renovations and maintenance of key facilities. The committee's findings reveal a high number of foreign nationals incarcerated for immigrants-related offenses. We support the committee's recommendations for enhanced interdepartmental collaboration between the Departments of Home Affairs, International Relations, and Correctional Services. We share the committee's alarm at the high vacancy rates in critical posts. The safety of officials and inmates alike depends on adequate staffing and trained professionals. We are disappointed by the report withdrawal of services by the DPWI. The lack of infrastructure support had left the Department of Correctional Services with critical vulnerabilities. We support the committee's call for National Treasury to allow the department to manage its infrastructure budget directly. Correctional centers must become sites of rehabilitation and dignity, not warehouses of despair. In consideration of the issues we have raised, the IFP accept the report. I thank you.
BA.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, colleagues, fellow South Africans. The overcrowding of correctional centers remains an urgent challenge, undermining rehabilitation efforts in South Africa. we are sitting with in excess of 25,000 documented and undocumented foreign nationals in prison. And if we factor in the cost per day, per inmate, at more than 14,000 Rand per month it works to, we will find that more than 358 million Rand is spent on foreign nationals in our prisons. Now that by itself could have been used on rehabilitation programs for our very own South African inmates. We urge the cooperation in identifying and processing these individuals appropriately, facilitate repatriation mechanisms, reduce overcrowding, and optimize resource allocation within correctional facilities. Now, why must South African taxpayers pay in excess of 358 million Rand per month on foreign nationals? We've got a solution for you. You can tell us about human rights. Let me tell you about South African rights. We put South Africans first. 358 million Rand a month. We can reduce it to 7.6 million a month. And you know how? Just make sure that they get something to eat and something to drink. Spend 10 Rand a day on them and give them dry bread and water. And then the cost will be 7.6 million. Then you cannot tell us that we are not complying with human rights. We are feeding you. 10 Rand a day, the Patriotic Alliance say per inmate. 358 million per taxpayers' money on foreign nationals.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
I thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson.
The FF Plus.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Portfolio Committee undertook quite an extensive oversight visit to a number of facilities in Gauteng. 3 key issues that stand out in the report compiled by the committee are overcrowding, remand detainees and foreign nationals in our correctional facilities. 3 major problems, all 3 related, that can be solved through a collective approach within the justice cluster. 3 examples. Gosimampuru has an approved bed space of 5,645 beds, yet it houses 7,463 inmates at the time of the oversight visit. 2,394 were foreign nationals, many of which detained for immigration law violations. 143 inmates had bail of up to 1,000 Rand but could not afford to pay it. 38 of those had bail of less than 500 Rand but could not afford to pay it. Modderby has space for 2,861 inmates. At an overcrowding rate of 220%, it houses more than 6,000. 2,912 of which were foreign nationals, both sentenced and on remand. Johannesburg Correctional Centre had 10,876 inmates with space for only 4,985. That's an overcrowding rate of 218%. Foreign nationals totaled a number of 4,079. It costs the state 463 Rand per day to house a detainee in one of our correctional facilities. In the case of only the 3 examples I mentioned, the state pays 4.3 million Rand per day to house the foreign nationals in only those 3 facilities. DCS, it seems, are doing their best, but the rest of the justice cluster is failing them. A renewed focus and collective approach from within the entire justice cluster is needed to address the number of both foreign nationals and remand detainees on bail in our facilities to ultimately solve our overcrowding problem. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Action essay.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker and honourable members. I stand on behalf of my colleague, Honourable Geraldine James, who is currently unwell at the moment. The Portfolio Committee Oversight Report reveals a correctional system in Gauteng on the verge of collapse. At Johannesburg and Modderby correctional centres, overcrowding exceeds 200%, turning prisons into pressure cookers of instability and violence. This is not just an administrative failure, it is a humanitarian crisis. Our correctional centres are buckling under the weight of a ballooning inmate population, worsened by a surge in foreign nationals, many incarcerated for immigration-related offences. In Johannesburg prison, otherwise known as Sun City, over 4,000 foreign nationals are detained, with Model B housing 2,912. The current model is unsustainable and diverts critical resources from rehabilitation to crisis management. Add to this chronic infrastructure decay, severe staff shortages, and a contraband epidemic that continues to compromise safety. Whilst Action SA supports the recommendation of the committee, we call for an urgent interministerial response involving correctional services, home affairs, public works, and treasury. We demand the immediate repatriation of undocumented foreign nationals detained solely for immigration offences, acceleration of infrastructure repairs, and the urgent filling of critical vacancies. This crisis affects more than those just behind bars. It threatens public safety, drains national resources, and undermines our justice system. We urge this government to act with urgency and resolve. Thank you, Speaker.
The ACDP.
Taken note of the report tabled today, and we participated in many oversight visits at correctional services facilities over the year. And it is clear that many of the problems are perennial. And these relate to overcrowding of facilities, smuggling of contraband, poor and deteriorating infrastructure, and the foreign nationals that are detained. Clearly, as we've said for many, many years, attention should be given to reducing the number of remand detainees. The one prison we visited, there was a person that owed bail of 200 Rand. It costs 463 Rand per day. It makes no sense, and therefore urgent attention needs to be given to reduce the number of remand detainees. When one conducts these oversight visits and one files reports, one expects certain action to be done, but it is quite disgraceful that as far as deterioration of infrastructure is concerned, a committee's visit in 2012, I'm sure that's a typing error, it cannot be correct, that's 13 years ago, picked up that there was water leakage at Johannesburg prison. It's still leaking to today. Colleagues, does it make any sense to do these oversight trips when there seems to be no follow-up or no action that is taken? On a positive note, the department is allowed to retain revenue generated through offender labor. Now, the ACDP advocated for that a number of years ago, and we are pleased that at least this can help the department to balance its books, given the financial constraints that the department is suffering under. The ACDP also believes that foreign nationals, as other members have said, need to be repatriated, as this will also reduce overcrowding. The ACDP will support this report. I thank you.
The UDM. Rise.
Honorable Speaker, sorry. I'm here. I had a
My apologies, Honourable Nontenja. If you could perhaps just allow the Honourable Garner to now proceed, as he is already at the podium, then I will come back to you. Honourable Garner, please proceed.
Thank you.
Let me start with the easiest one. Will support the report of the portfolio committee. So the point that is being raised by the report itself and by members, it's around overcrowding. Accepting that the department can never say no. So correctional services can never say no when either the police or the Department of Justice says, here's a person that you must keep in prison or correctional facility. So where this report ought to be going, it's to the justice. Because what we should be looking at, we are spending so much money on EPWP and CWP. We are paying people. There are a lot of people that are in correctional facilities that shouldn't be in correctional facilities. Our correctional facilities must be keeping people that are undesirable in society. There are people that you find that they don't have 200 Rand or 500 Rand for bail that are kept for too long in our correctional facilities, costing us far too much to keep them in prisons. And that should not be happening. So we need to be looking and be talking to the Department of Justice to say the speedy resolution of cases will help deal with the overcrowding. Because correctional services can never say no when justice says we are remanding this suspect, or please keep this criminal in jail for 5 years. They can never say no. They are there in the cluster. They are at the last end. They can never say no to this. So we advocate for alternative sentencing. So this is a message to justice. Alternative sentencing will help us. People should be cleaning the streets that shouldn't be in jail. We cannot continue to pay EPWP when there are people that are costing us over 400 rand a day that shouldn't be in prison. So we support alternative sentencing, and we say to the Department of Justice, please look at that. Ntshavheni and Mchunu.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now go back to the UDM.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. This report is a reflection of the deep-rooted challenges that persist with our correctional system. High occupancy levels in many centres place extreme pressure on infrastructure, personnel, and service delivery. Such conditions make it nearly impossible to create an environment conducive to rehabilitation. At Mchunu Correctional Centre, the committee observed a high number of foreign nationals among the juvenile offenders. This situation places strain on limited resources and highlights the urgent need for stronger collaboration between correctional services, Home Affairs, and international partners. Practical solutions in this instance, such as alternative placements like Lindela Center and deportation, must be considered, not only for Mchunu, but for all correctional centers around the country. The UDM commends the Mchunu Correctional Center for its exemplary performance. The center has maintained a zero escape record since its establishment, an extraordinary achievement in custodial security. Furthermore, Mchunju's consistent 100% metric pass rate is a powerful testimony to the importance of education as a cornerstone of rehabilitation. Despite these bright spots, we cannot ignore the administrative setbacks. The withdrawal of support by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is deeply concerning. The UDM supports the committee's recommendation that the Department of Correctional Services be entrusted with its own infrastructure budget. Its successful implementation of smaller projects demonstrates its capacity. I thank you.
Bosa? No one on the platform. We will then proceed. ATM. No declaration. Al-Jamar.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think we've been covered. No declaration.
Thank you. NCC. No declaration. PAC.
PAC supports the report, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. UAT.
UAT, no declaration.
Thank you. Good. No declaration. ANC.
Achtbare Deputy Speaker, eerstens laat my toe om die verklaring voor te hou van die oorsigbesoek van Portfolio Komitee van Korrektiewe Dienste wat geskied vanaf 8 tot 11 Oktober 2024. The African National Congress, the carrying organization, supports the report. Overcrowding. We remain deeply concerned about the growing inmate population versus the facilities we have to keep these inmates for the purposes of rehabilitation. The volumes of overcrowding in correctional facilities indicate a problem of administrative deficiencies within the system itself. We call for effective cases management and administration of these inmates. Because of effective cases management process will ensure that there is a comprehensive profiling sentence, planning and timeless court appearance for remand detainees and those that are being considered for parole, get their parole applications attended to. Correctional service is spending a lot of money daily to keep inmates in correctional facilities. We appeal to all actors in criminal justice value chain to use arrest as a last resort to punish a crime. Because at this stage, we simply cannot afford to keep inmates in the cells. The state is currently spending 482 rands for the upkeep and maintenance of each inmate on a daily basis, and we simply cannot afford overcrowding from a budgetary perspective and from an infrastructure perspective. En Afrikaans sê hulle dat 2 is beter as 1. So as die minister van korrektiewe dienste, die achtbare Groenewald, ook net sal die oorsigte bywoon, dan sal daar meer werk in gedoen word. Maar die minister is gewoonlik absent tydens die oorsigbesoekte. On education skills and second chances, offenders in general have poor skills and little working experience. Thus we need to focus on making them ready for the markets when they leave the correctional facilities. A leading cause of recidivism in the fact that upon release, many offenders cannot positively engage with society and government and economic, and therefore remains a priority for the department and government to prioritize the pathways for youth in conflict with the law. I am impressed by the matric pass rate at Ntshavheni Juvenile Correctional Center and want to encourage that we focus on giving juveniles an education and second chances. We call on the department to urgently fill all the vacant posts that relate to correctional centers management, that includes your correctional officers, office securities guards, training officials, social workers, and people involved, including correctional centers and parole boards. On mental health, we call the Department of Correctional Service to provide adequate mental health care, including the provision of proper assessment and support for inmates with mental health challenges. We need a commitment focused to inmates' well-being so as to achieve the objectives of rehabilitation. We were shocked to find in one center that inmates that have not been officially diagnosed with mental illness but visibly mentally challenged were kept in the same cells as other inmates. This is not only puts them at risk for abuse by other inmates. Contraband. We note high inflow of contraband in the centers and want to send out a strong message that is unacceptable, and those who are found to be assisting with smuggling of contraband must face harsh consequences. This is a call for the department to strengthen its security measures at the correctional facilities and invest in working body scanners. Perimeter fencing and surrounding community must also be looked into, as they are the cause for interventions. We are encouraged and impressed by the signal jamming device at Khosimapura that stop inmates from using cell phones in prisons. The department must make sure that it rolls out the installation of cell phone detection systems in all correctional centers across the country that will assist in curbing the challenge of contraband in correctional facilities. And I thank you.
Now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to honourable members. I wish to move that the report be adopted. Thank you.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections? Honourable Manyi.
The MK party rejects. Thank you.
Any other objections? And with that one objection, the report is agreed to. The Secretary will now read the second order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources on oversight visit to Northwest and Gauteng provinces.
The Honourable M.G. Mashlaule.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I present to you the report of the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources following the oversight visit to Northwest and Gauteng provinces on the 7th to 11 October 2024 for your noting and approval. The mining sector is a critical tool to the economic development of our country and is a sunrise industry and not a sunset industry, as some would want us to believe. The report underpins the importance of the oversight visit, which was undertaken with the primary focus on mine health and safety, a critical issue which continues to be discussed in the committee. While there is acknowledgement of the progress made since the enactment of the Mine Health and Safety Act, the sector continues to face challenges that the committee aimed to understand through the oversight undertaken. The visit also tackled the issue of illegal mining, which threatens communities and hinders local development. I must highlight that this is an area where the committee has engaged in detailed and fostered collaborative discussions to ensure that a resolution emerges. Progress will have to be monitored in this area as it must enable legal mine-scale mining which does not undermine the value of the minerals of the country. On the oversight visit, the committee witnessed firsthand an alarming scale of some of these illegal operations, particularly at sites like Van Ryan in Ekurhuleni, where illegal mining continues to undermine economic growth. While we witnessed temporary interventions such as the joint law enforcement operations, it was also evident that these operations have shown short-term successes, underpinning the urgent need for implementation of the recommendations of this report for long-term purposes. The report highlights innovative approaches implemented by sector players that the committee had the opportunity to engage with, some of which aimed to transform the illegal mining hub into a community asset. These examples demonstrate that collaboration and holistic strategies are key to addressing systemic issues. Honorable members, this report not only reflects the realities of the mining sector, but also provides actionable recommendations to enhance safety and to combat illegal mining. It is imperative that social and labor plans are implemented in mining communities. More critical is that the mining charter needs to be implemented to ensure empowerment of the people in the sector. As the sector begins further development of mining new minerals, we should not carry the baggage of the apartheid era into the development. We must accommodate small-scale artisanal miners. Small-scale mining is the solution to illegal mining and needs to be protected. The committee will monitor progress on the observations and recommendations of the report and will keep the House informed. Members that will present the report for consideration will elaborate more on the oversight. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Mashlaule. I will now recognise political parties wishing to make a declaration. The usual times for declaration of votes will apply. The DA.
Deputy Speaker, one of the great natural advantages of South Africa is its mining industry. It is well established and well known. It has produced millions of rands in value for the country for well over 150 years. Mining contributed more than 430 billion rand to South Africa's gross domestic product last year and nearly 44 billion rand in taxes. Two things plague our mining and the growth of the industry. One is poor legislation, poorly implemented, and the other one is illegal mining, of which we saw ample evidence, quite frightening evidence, on this oversight trip. It is a good reflection that when we went to the illegal mining site near Benoni, this was a site that was, at least for the day, controlled by the police and the military. This was in stark contrast to no more than 3 years ago, when the site was dominated by illegal miners, to the point where police could not even enter it without going there in force and heavily armed and being expected to be shot at. One of the problems in prosecuting illegal mining still has not been dealt with, and that is the inability of authorities to prosecute based on the fact of actual illegal mining, which is not in itself a criminal act. The result is that many illegal miners are prosecuted merely for minor crimes like trespassing. This did not used to be the case. Up until 2008, when there was an ill-advised change to the MPRDA, illegal mining was a criminal offence. This is no longer the case. This could be corrected with a simple change of a paragraph to the MPRDA. Despite the urgings of the DA, this advice has not been taken up, and we have been told that we must wait until the amendments to the MPRDA come next year, or later in this year. Now, despite that flaw, the country does seem on course to tackle illegal mining. There has certainly been an increase in police activity. Operation Vala Ngodi seems to report success almost weekly in arresting more illegal miners. But this is still something that we will not be able to discount until there is a proper legislative framework for tackling it. In summary, what we saw on this oversight trip was both impressive on the one hand and frightening on the other. The DA will support this report.
MK.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, South Africa is rich in minerals. Our land holds resources worth more than 2.5 trillion. This wealth should help grow our economy, build industries, and create many jobs. But for far too long, our leaders have chosen to export this raw material instead of processing them here at home. As a result, other countries benefit from our resources, while our people remain poor and unemployed. Let's take iron ore as an example. Over the last 30 years, iron ore exports have gone up by 230%, but sales inside the country have dropped by 45%. In 1980, we processed almost half of our iron ore locally. By 2023, that dropped to just 10%. We now export 10 times more iron ore than we use here. This is not development. It is destroying our economy. The MK Party believes that we must process our minerals locally. This is not a choice. It is something we must do. If we do, we can build, reindustrialize create jobs, grow our economy in a way that helps everyone, especially poor and the youth. We must learn from leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. His government has taken control of their gold mines and made sure that people, not foreign companies, get benefit of their country's gold. They are building local industries and jobs with their own minerals. In many countries, governments are putting strong laws in place to stop the export of raw materials. South Africa should do the same. But sadly, we are falling behind. We are sending our wealth and bringing poverty back in return. The MK party calls on so-called government of crumbling unity to act now. We want high export taxes, royalties on companies that do not process minerals in South Africa. That money must be used to build local factories, train workers, help small businesses. Stricter rules and deadlines for companies to be beneficiated our minerals here. We must also fix the problem that makes beneficiation difficult, like load shedding, poor transport system, lack of skill, and weak support of local businesses. These problems can be solved in government if government is serious. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we cannot keep making excuses. Our people need jobs, business opportunities. As Umkhonto wesizwe, we are saying abantu bakithi mabahlomule emnothweni wabo. Our people must benefit in our own resources. I thank you.
EFF.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Greetings to the Commander-in-Chief, officials, commissars and fighters of the EFF, the only revolutionary movement in South Africa. Deputy Speaker, mining remains the backbone of South Africa's economy, driving industrial development, employment, foreign exchange earnings, and as such, it must be protected, nurtured, and regulated responsibly to ensure both its sustainability and the welfare of those who work within the sector. The EFF views mineral resources as public resources and should therefore be a direct benefit to all South Africans. But that will only be possible when the EFF takes power and nationalizes the mines, as Captain Traore has done in Burkina Faso. The Economic Freedom Fighter supports the report by the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources, emanating from the committee's oversight visit, which focused on mine health and safety, illegal mining, and progress in implementing social and labor plans across the sector. The EFF has always been concerned with the safety and general well-being of our mine workers, and we acknowledge the commendable and substantial strides made in improving mine safety since the promulgation of the Mine Health and Safety Act in 1996. Those whose application we have seen a notable reductions in fatalities, noise-induced hearing loss, silicosis, and tuberculosis. However, more needs to be done, and we must ensure that we have more mining inspectors so that mines can be compliant. However, as a party, we remain concerned, Deputy Speaker, about the continued increase in injuries among women miners, the prevalence of fall of ground incidents, and the persistence of illegal mining activities that endanger both lives and the economy of our country. We commend the joint and collaborative efforts by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, the South African Police Services, South African National Defence Force, mining companies, and organised labour to address these challenges, and many others. We agree with the recommendations of the committee, which include, among other things, the confiscation of illegal mining equipment valued at 18 million rand, the closure of high-risk shafts, and proactive safety summits and wellness initiatives by mining houses such as Impala Platinum, Sibanye Stillwater, and Harmony Gold. We note the substantial number of 72,500 women involved in the mining sector, and as a party, we call for more protective measures to be put in place to ensure good working conditions for these women. Deputy Speaker, we must never be shy to call for the nationalization of these mines and other strategic sectors of our economy for local beneficiation and growth of our economy. Thank you very much.
The IFP.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the IFP notes that the tragic loss of 13 mine workers at Impala Platinum Mine underscores the urgent need for improved safety oversight and accountability. We support calls for sustainable action to curb illegal mining and ensure gender-sensitive reforms in all mining operations. Job security must remain a priority through exploration and the building of new mines. We also echo concerns around food bans and their impact on workers' health and dignity. Strengthening the Mine Health and Safety Inspectorate, expanding renewable energy use, and harmonizing compensation laws for former mine workers are long overdue. The IFP urges the Minister to implement these recommendations without delays. In the light of the issues we have raised, the IFP accepts the report. I thank you.
The PA.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We acknowledge the oversight report presented by the Portfolio Committee and welcome the increasing participation of women in the mining sector. However, we urge the Minister to implement stricter safety measures to address the concerning rise in injuries amongst women, as highlighted in the report. Regarding illegal mining, we emphasize the need to expedite enhanced security enforcement at mining sites to curb these activities and mitigate their harmful consequences. We further call on the Minister to address the challenges faced by the department in ensuring effective interdepartmental collaboration, particularly concerning compensation for former mine workers. We commend Impala Rustenburg for their support to the families of the 13 workers who tragically lost their lives in the November 2023 incident. We take note of the report's observations and propose that the next Portfolio Committee meeting include submissions on the strategies to prevent mines from being depleted to prevent job losses. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we endorse the recommendations to adopt the report. I thank you.
The FF Plus.
No declaration, Deputy Speaker.
We proceed. Action SA.
I beg your pardon, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Portfolio Committee's recommendations speak directly to the urgent need for improved safety, accountability and dignity in the mining sector. Action SA supports the recommendation that the Minister must monitor closely the investigation into fatal accidents, but this cannot stop at Impala Platinum. It must extend to Lily Mine, where Solomon Nyirende, Priti Nkambula and Yvonne Mnisi's remains remain entombed in the container that fell into the sinkhole on the 5th of February 2016. For 9 years, these families remained camped outside the mine, and for 9 years, they've been met with promises from Minister Mantashe, who said, "Sizabakhupha, kodwa basepha emgodini." The dignity of a proper burial and the closure that comes with it cannot be reserved only for the privileged. These workers were not just miners, they were mothers, brothers, and children of this country. Following yet another promise by the Minister, Action SA has temporarily suspended its independent initiative to retrieve the container that holds their remains. We've given him 60 days to act, after which we will proceed to retrieve the said remains ourselves, if the government won't. Let us be clear, failure to do so would be yet another betrayal of poor and working class South Africans, especially black families who continue to suffer the consequence of government's broken promises and carelessness towards the mining safety and the mine owner responsibility. Across the world, where incidents like this have happened, the victims have been retrieved from much more difficult circumstances. In this country, we retrieve illegal miners' remains but we will not retrieve the remains of legal miners. 9 years later, their parents and their families are camped, and I put that in inverted commas, in the most despicable circumstances. And we are told every time we ask about it, Dabakupa nin.
The ACDP.
No declaration, thank you.
Honourable House Chair, there's a declaration from the ACDP. Apologies, Honourable House Chair.
Proceed, Honourable Thring.
Thank you. Honourable House Chairperson, in welcoming this report focusing on mine health and safety, the ACDP notes that South Africa's mining sector employs nearly 500,000 people, and yes, concerns over worker safety persist. While fatalities have dramatically declined since the introduction of the Mine Health and Safety Act, sadly 55 deaths and 2,180 injuries were recorded in 2023, including the Impala Rustenburg disaster. Additionally, some 73,000 women miners face rising injuries every year. Mining involves multiple hazards, including hearing loss, silicosis, TB, and fatal accidents from fall of ground and transportation and mining. The ACDP welcomes the focus on all mines to provide safe sanitary ablution facilities underground for women, as it should be done for men. The ACDP supports the committee recommendation for interventions towards zero harm and calls for the capacity constraints in inspections to be removed. We further welcome the removal of some 6,500 illegal miners in Ekurhuleni and appreciate the transformation of an illegal mining hub at the Benoni Driving Range racetrack to an effective law enforcement model that serves as a valuable blueprint for change and community enrichment. As most mines are being mined out, the ACDP is concerned about the lack of exploration and greenfield projects to preserve mining jobs, noting that some 12,000 mining jobs were lost last year. In light of this importance of the mining sector's contribution to GDP, the ACDP urges the department to fast-track research and investment in new mine establishment within the sector. I thank you.
The UDM.
No declaration, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. Rise.
We are happy with the work of the committee and will support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Bosa.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. As Build One South Africa, we welcome the report done by the committee. It is now common cause, given today's quarterly labour force survey numbers, that mining requires urgent reform in order to become an economic driver of the future rather than just of the past. It's also noted in the report, we'd like to draw attention to the fact that as the committee went at Van Rijn in Ekurhuleni, the committee witnessed a fully fledged underground economy. It was complete with informal housing, illicit trade, and a shadow tax system where small business owners pay rent to criminal syndicates. The state in these areas is effectively absent. The underground economy is not just illegal, it is extractive. It preys on poverty, destroys infrastructure, and displaces legitimate economic activity. Local businesses, legitimate job creation, and even food security are undermined. Municipalities are often forced to spend money on security and rehabilitation instead of services and development. So, Honourable Speaker, the report notes a really, really dire crisis in terms of illegal mining. And it also highlights the fact that communities are being robbed of long-term opportunities where illegal miners do not invest. They don't build schools, they don't build clinics or roads, they leave behind dangerous shafts and environmental degradation and shattered lives. So as BOSA, we require economic reform and justice so that we hold mining rights holders accountable for site rehabilitation and, more importantly, invest in local enterprise development and youth development as alternatives to illegal mining. Well, Deputy Speaker, we are certainly not as a country going to build a future economy if we don't modernize mining, ensure that we allow South communities are not trapped in economic fear, exclusion, or extraction. Let's reform now. It is urgent, and therefore we support the report and call the Minister of Mining to urgently modernize this sector as a crucial intervention. I thank you.
ATM.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We acknowledge the reduction in the occupational fatalities in the mine since 1995. However, it is imperative that we do not accept the idea that the leadership transitions in the mine leads to an increase in miner fatalities. During our oversight visits to the mines, we constantly hear about the shortage of mine inspectors. It is crucial for the health and safety of our brothers and sisters that we fully support and strengthen the inspectorate unit. We are deeply concerned about the food bans that are implemented in the mines, which violate the workers' rights and negatively affect their future. It is troubling that organized labor was not consulted by the mines and was caught off guard by these restrictions. We have moved beyond the oppressive practices of the past, and we must not tolerate any return to such conditions. The department must correct this as soon as possible. The commitment of the mines to support the communities close to them must not be empty speech, but must be followed through action. Many surrounding areas face significant challenges despite proximity to mining operations. This will be corrected when the mineral wealth of the country is under the control of the state. While we recognize the issue of compensating ex-mine workers is not solely the responsibility of the department, it is essential that the collaboration with the departments of employment and health do take place. The slow progress in compensating workers is alarming. Many of our brothers and fathers and sisters are passing away without receiving the compensation they deserve due to the lengthy processes and fragmented legislation. Going after the big players, which is the politicians, government officials, and mines, will stop illegal mining. Up until the syndicates are arrested, illegal mining will not stop. Thank you.
Al Jamal.
No declaration. Thank you.
Noted. NCC. We proceed. PAC.
PAC supports the report, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. UAT.
No declaration.
Noted. Good. C.
Speaker, the African National Congress is committed to ensuring that South Africa's mining sector operates in a manner that promotes sustainable and inclusive development and growth of the sector. Our resolution as the AFP is to build a sector that not only contributes to the economic growth of the country, but also safeguards the safety, quality of life, and well-being of the workers and communities. The National Development Plan envisions a mining industry that is both productive and socially responsible, prioritizing the health and safety of its workforce and the integrity of our natural resources. It is against this backdrop, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that we welcome the report on the oversight visit to the Northwest Province and Gauteng provinces conducted by the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources. This report serves as a critical intervention in tackling the systematic challenges affecting mine health and safety, along with the threat of illegal mining, which endangers the lives and Scupa's growth and development. Honorable Deputy Speaker, this report provides a comprehensive overview of the current conditions in the mining sector. The oversight visit was necessitated by persistent concerns over fatalities and the escalating crisis of illegal mining, which poses a serious threat to community safety and capability of the state. The committee's findings highlight the progress and areas requiring urgent interventions. The report notes the grave concern, the 55 fatalities and 2,180 injuries recorded in the mining sector in 2023, including the incident at Impala Rustenburg that claimed 13 lives. Our hearts remain firmly with the victims and their families. While fatalities have decreased significantly since 1984, the rise in injuries among women miners, a trend observed over the past 22 years, demands immediate attention. Women deserve to be safe and secure in their workplace. Occupational health risks such as silicosis, noise-induced hearing loss, and pulmonary TB remain prevalent despite some improvements in reported cases. We make these remarks, Honorable Deputy Speaker, upon consideration of the report tabled by the Mine Health and Safety Council on the 22nd of April 2025, which indicated that reform efforts in this regard are underway. Honorable Deputy Speaker, one of the most alarming findings is the prevalence and persistence of illegal mining, which fuels crime and undermines legitimate mining operations. The committee witnessed firsthand fully fledged illegal settlements at sites like Van Ryan in Benoni, where criminal networks operate with impunity. The report underscores the need for sustainable measures, including stronger collaborations between law enforcement agencies, capacity building within the NPA, and the rehabilitation of derelict shafts. We strongly recommend tackling the inspectorate capacity constraints to strengthen compliance oversight, along with discussions on the new mining projects to preserve jobs and economic growth. We call for the harmonizing of compensation legislation to streamline payouts for ex-mine workers who contracted occupational lung diseases while working in the mines and left without claiming their benefits. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are committed to realizing the value of our shared heritage to create jobs in this sector and sustain this industry. The committee will monitor the progress that has been observed during the oversight visit, and we hope the House will note the report and also implement the recommendations that stem from it. The ANC support this report. Thank you.
Now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I propose that the report be adopted. Thank you.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The MK party objects.
The objection
and we call
is
for
noted.
decisions.
Division having been called, the bells will now be rung for 5 minutes.
Order, honorable members. Will you take up your designated seat? Honorable members, the Speaker has determined that in accordance with the rules, a manual voting procedure will be used for this division. Firstly, in order to establish a quorum, I would request the table to confirm that we have the requisite number of members physically present in the chamber and on the virtual platform to take this decision. Party whips will then be granted an opportunity to confirm the number of their members present and indicate if they vote for or against the question. A member who wishes to abstain or vote against the party vote may do so by informing the chair. Do we have a quorum present? There is a quorum. Having confirmed that we have the requisite quorum, we will now proceed. The question before the House is that the report of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources be agreed to. Voting will now commence. The doors to the chamber will remain locked and members will not be allowed to enter the virtual platform until voting is concluded. I will now request the whips to confirm the number of the members present from the political party in the chamber and on the virtual platform, and also indicate if they vote for or against the question. The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and good afternoon to you. The ANC support the report with the following numbers: 34 inside the chamber here and 80 on virtual. And that works out to 214 in total. Thank you.
Thank you. The DA.
Thank you, House Chair. The DA with 21 members in the House, 42 online, that's 64 in total votes in favour.
Thank you. MK.
The recommendations don't go far enough. We reject with these numbers: 18 in the House and 23 in the platform, total of 41. Thank you.
Thank you. The EFF. Order, honourable members.
Thank you, House Chair.
Order, honourable members. The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. The EFF has 15 members online and 9 in the House, giving us 24 voting in favour of the report.
The IFP.
Thank you.
Order, honourable members.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The IFP with 4 in-house, 9 on virtual platform. We support the report.
Thank you. The PA.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson. The Patriotic Alliance has got 2 members in-house and 7 members on the platform. Thank you.
Voting in favour or against?
Absolutely in favour. My apologies for assuming that the House understands that we're in favour of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, honourable members. The FF Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. The FF Plus is 2 in the House, 1 on virtual, 3 voting in favour.
Thank you. Action SA.
Thank you, House Chair. Action SA, 4 in-house, 1 online, voting in favour. That makes us 5.
Thank you. The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. The ACDP has 1 online, 1 in the House, 2 voting in favour. Thank you.
Thank you. UDM.
UDM with 2 on virtual, voting in favour.
Thank you. Rise Mzansi.
Rise 1 in attendance, 1 online. We are all voting for the report.
Thank you. Bosa.
Bosa with 2 on the virtual platform, voting in favour.
Thank you. The ATM. Al-Jama.
Al-Jama, 1 in the House, in favour.
Thank you. The NCC.
Thank you, Chairperson. 1 online, voting in favour. Thank you.
Thank you. The PAC.
PAC 1 chair online and voting in favour.
Thank you. The UAT. Good. Honourable members, is there any member that wishes to abstain or vote differently to their party? It's none. The voting session is now closed. Honourable Manyi.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just to take advantage of the period when the counters are still counting the obvious, we want to, as the MK party, we want to bring it to the attention of this House and the national table that, and this has got nothing to do with the ruling made. We've moved on that. But the general point that Rule 85 must be explained that it's not only limited to members of this assembly. It also involves members that are not in the assembly, and it is explicitly written in that Rule 85.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, order. Order, Honorable Members. Honorable Members, I was present in the House when the Speaker clarified that point of order, and I suggest that you further pursue the matter outside of the sitting because there is a ruling on it. Can I have the result, please? Honorable Members, order, Honorable Members, order. Honorable Ditebe, just calm down a bit, please. Thank you. The outcome of the division is as follows. Those who voted against, order. Those who voted against is 41, and those who voted in favor is 243. The report is thus agreed to. Honorable Members, we now come to motions without notice. Does any member of the ANC wish to give a motion without notice?
Thank you, House Chair. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with shock and anger the discovery of bodies of a journalist and his partner in an advanced state of decomposition more than 2 months after they went missing. Further notes that the two bodies of Pretoria-based journalist Sibusiso Aseri Ndlovu and his partner Zoda Precious Mdluli were found in a bush in northern Limpopo province on Thursday, 8 May, after the suspects linked to the disappearance showed police where the couples was left. Recalls that the 5 suspects who have been arrested face charges of kidnapping, robbery, drug possession, and possession of stolen goods and vehicles. Remember that the journalist Ndlovu was a founder of local radio station, Capital Live, in South Africa's capital, Pretoria. Acknowledges that the DNA test would be conducted to confirm whether the bodies of those of Ndlovu and Mdluli, and calls for a harsh sentence to be meted out to the criminals responsible for this barbaric act. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The DA.
Thank you, House Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move without notice that this House notes the passing of former MP Mr. Douglas Gibson on 9 May 2025. Notes that not only was Mr. Gibson South Africa's ambassador to Thailand between 2008 and 2012, but he also served as the chief whip of the opposition and the longest serving chief whip of the Democratic Alliance from 1999 to 2007. Notes that Mr. Gibson, a lawyer by profession, served the DA and its predecessors, the DP, Progressive Reform Party, and UP, in all 3 spheres of government in a career spanning from 1970. Notes that as a liberal stalwart and a constant voice against apartheid, Mr. Gibson earned the love and respect not only from within his own party, but from his political opponents and friends in other parties alike, as a man who can be described as unwavering in his principles and ethics and a true gentleman. Finally, that this House sends its sincere condolences to his beloved wife, Pam, and thank her for all her love and support to him over the years. He will be remembered as one of the best of us and a shining example of a true, decent South African and a founding member of our democratic parliament. May his soul rest in peace. I so move.
Thank you. I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The EFF, apologies, the MK party.
Honorable House Chairperson, I rise on behalf of Umkhonto weSizwe Party and the people of South Africa to move without notice that this House notes the worsening water crisis affecting municipalities such as Ntshavheni Mtshavheni and Nelson Mandela Bay, and others, where residents are forced to live without consistent access to clean potable water. I further note that the systemic collapse of water infrastructure due to corruption, mismanagement, and the failure of both local and national authorities to act decisively calls on this House to institute an urgent parliamentary inquiry into the state of municipal water infrastructure and to recommend a turnaround plan to include strict timelines, transparent procurement, and clear accountability for those responsible for the failure. I so move. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now put the motion. Is there any objection? There's an objection. The motion is not agreed to. It will be converted to a motion. The EFF.
I rise on behalf of the EFF for the House to note that the United Kingdom government has failed to process the visa application of the Commander-in-Chief and President of EFF, Julius Silomalema, who was scheduled to address the 11th annual Cambridge Africa Together conference at Cambridge University. Acknowledge the growing trend by the United Kingdom and other Western governments to deny or delay visas for individuals and political leaders who hold dissenting views or express solidarity with the oppressed, including the people of Palestine. Further note that the US government, which denies entry to elected members of parliament on the basis of political opinion, regularly sends its parliamentarians and envoys to African states, including South Africa, where they are received with honor and accorded privileged access to political spaces. Warm African governments and parliaments that silence in the face of such abuses amount to complicity and betrayal of African sovereignty and dignity. Call on the South African Parliament and government to raise this matter through diplomatic channels and to defend the right of South African leaders to engage with the world without censorship or oppression based on their political beliefs. I thank you.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's an objection from the Democratic Alliance. It will be converted to an ordinary motion. Motion is not agreed to. The ANC. The ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. After the beautiful performance by the Team South Africa relay teams in China on Sunday, the Office of the Chief Whip decided that we must amend that motion congratulating Agani Zimbani only and congratulate all those athletes who brought 2 gold medals and broke records. I want to thank you, Deputy Speaker.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? Yes, Honourable Member, there's an objection. The motion will be converted to an ordinary motion. The IFP. Order, Honourable Members.
Thank you. Honourable House Chairperson, I move without notice that this House notes with a heavy heart the sad news of the passing of legendary Maskandi guitarist Busani Ntshebe on Friday, 9 May, at the age of 62. Recalls that Kuzwayo was the celebrated co-founder and lead guitarist of the iconic Maskandi group, Izingane Zoma. Further, remember that in 1993, he co-founded Izingane Zoma with his brother, Shobeni Kuzwayo, and fellow musicians, Mkapeleni Makubane, Thandolo Niphungula, Tholakele Ngobese, Nigwani Ngobese. The group went on to release more than 40 albums and became a cornerstone of the Maskandi genre. Acknowledges that Ntshebe influence extended beyond his own band. His remarkable guitar techniques inspired a new generation of musicians, including his nephews, Dlubheke and Falabo, both of whom have carved out successful careers. Further acknowledges that throughout his career, Ntshebe received multiple accolades for his contributions to music. Among his notable honors was the Best Guitarist Award at the Amantshontsho Maskandi Awards in 2016. Expresses its deepest condolences to his family, Izingane Zoma, Maskandi artists, Maskandi listeners, friends, on the passing of Busani Ntshebe Kuzwayo. I thank you.
Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections agreed to. The PA.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I rise today on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance to move without notice that this House notes the preliminary indications of a trend in public institutions, more specifically universities and TVET colleges, of foreign nationals being chosen for senior positions over and above qualified South Africans. Further notes that there is compelling evidence of systematic discrimination against colored African, Indian African, and white African employees in the public service sector. This practice contradicts the Employment Equity Act number 55 of 1998. Acknowledge the recent revelations during a portfolio committee sitting for higher education, where the Central University of Technology is shown to be prioritizing foreign nationals over qualified South African citizens, using academic autonomy as a scapegoat to continue this illegal practice without consequence. This violates the principles outlined in the Employment Services Act number 4 of 2014. Calls on the House to support the call for swift and decisive action to be taken against those responsible for these employment irregularities, and ensuring that institutions like CUT aligns its practices with the principles of fairness, transparency, and the prioritization of South Africans above foreign nationals in the workforce. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections agreed to. The FF Plus.
House Chair, I hereby move on behalf of the FF Plus that this House congratulates the two extraordinary South African classical singers, Corneel Miller and Linnell Kennett, who together with Stefan Lombard won the 2025 Kyknet Fiesta Award for the Best Music-Driven Theatre Production for the production Ontban. Notes that Ontban debuted at the Suidooster Festival and centers around music that was banned in South Africa between 1962 and 1992 and features music and lyrics by the likes of Johannes Kerkorrel, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela and David Kramer. Further notes that Miller and Kennett, under the guidance of Lombard as musical director, brought to the stage a production that transcends generational borders with music like Weeping, Something Inside So Strong, Pata Pata and Broertjie My Bra, telling a powerful story like only music can. Congratulates them on this innovative theme and concept, beautiful portrayal and excellent production that earned them the award. I so move.
Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections agreed to. Action SA.
Speaker, on behalf of Action SA, I move without notice that the House notes with concern the escalating violence in Eldorado Park, which continues to have a negative impact on the safety and security of residents who live in constant fear and despair. Acknowledges that while police intervention is continually touted as showing progress, the reality is that sporadic efforts without sustained multi-stakeholder engagement have yielded no significant results in curbing crime or promoting the safety and security of residents in the community. Further acknowledges that the residents of Eldorado Park have repeatedly raised the same concerns, with the persistent violence highlighting that little to no progress has been made in addressing rampant gang activity, drug peddling, and police corruption. Encourages all governmental stakeholders to urgently revise existing strategies and confront the regrettable reality that current interventions have failed, and that immediate coordinated action is required to restore community trust in Eldorado Park in the law enforcement. I so move.
Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the African National Congress that the House knows that Akani Simpene backed up his win in Shimane last week by running down Olympic silver medalist Kishane Thompson in the last few strides to win the 100-meter in 9.98 seconds in the Shanghai Diamond League on Saturday, the 3rd of May 2025. I also move that the House acknowledge that the 30-year-old medalist in the 60-meter at the World Indoors in the March is unbeaten over 100 meters this season at the beat, as he beat Thompson in the line of photo finish. I also move that the House must further acknowledge that Simpeni is in a form of sprinter at the moment, clocking a world lead of 9.90 seconds at the Botswana Golden Grand Prix in Gaborone on the 12th of April. And I further congratulate the Simpin on his many achievements and thank him for flying the South African fly high and wish him well in all his future endeavors. I so move. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's an objection from the MK. The motion will be converted to an ordinary motion. The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the African Christian Democratic Party, I move without notice that the House notes that on the 22nd of January 2025, a young 18-year-old Joshua Peterson, with a passion to become a motor mechanic, was attacked and stabbed during school hours at Westridge High School, leaving him paralyzed. Further notes that the family of Joshua feel abandoned by the Basic Education Department and calls on the Minister and Department of Basic Education to intervene to provide some comfort and humanitarian support to Joshua and his family. I so move.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The DA.
Honourable Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move without notice that this House welcomes the recent decision by the City of Cape Town to sell city-owned land at a discounted rate for the development of a school in Manenberg to the non-profit organization, the Leadership College. Congratulates the Leadership College for providing quality education to learners from undeserved communities at no cost, particularly in mathematics and science. Welcomes the city's whole-of-society approach in ensuring quality education to learners from undeserved communities, and recognizes the crucial need for state-owned land transfers for our country's socio-economic development. I so move. Thank you.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. MK.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the Mkhonto Wesizwe Party to move without notice that this House notes the severe overcrowding in correctional facilities across South Africa, driven in large part by thousands of awaiting trial prisoners who are detained simply because they cannot afford bail. Further notes that many of these detainees are held for petty, minor, non-violent offences, creating an unjust burden on the justice system and wasting public resources. Calls on this House to recommend the immediate release for non-violent and petty crimes remand detainees into supervised community service programs and to urge the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to accelerate reforms in the bail and remand detention processes. I so move.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? An objection from the ANC will be converted to an ordinary motion. The EFF.
Honourable House Chair, I move on behalf of the EFF for the House to note with concern the exploitation of poor and unemployed South Africans, especially graduates, through the expanded public works program and government-sponsored learnerships. Acknowledge that the EPWP workers and learnership participants perform critical functions, yet are denied basic labor rights. Recognize the exploitative practice of demanding advanced qualifications for learnerships, offering low stipends. This institutionalizes exploitation. Further note that this is a deliberate scheme of the so-called GNU to manipulate unemployment statistics while evading its responsibility to create permanent, dignified jobs. Condemn the Department of Public Works and all other public entities for treating EPWP and learnership participants as cheap, disposable labor. Call on Parliament to establish a special committee to investigate exploitation under the EPWP and recommend the permanent absorption of qualified, long-serving participants into the public sector. I so move.
Thank you. I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's an objection from the DA. It will be converted to a notice of motion. The UDM.
Thank you, House Chair. The United Democratic Movement moves without notice that the House notes with great pride and admiration the outstanding achievement of Inkosi Yomoya Dr. Uzwilezwe Radebe on being awarded the 2025 Sunak Peace Prize Award on the 11th of April 2025 in Seoul, South Korea. This is a prestigious international recognition for his exceptional contributions to peace, human development, and moral leadership, especially in Africa. Further notes that Inkosi Yomoya, as leadership through the Revelation Spiritual Home, has inspired a revival of African pride, unity, and purpose, offering spiritual and moral guidance that continues to uplift and heal communities across the continent, acknowledges the profound impact of Inkosi Yomoya Dr. Uzwilezwe Radebe's teachings, which resonate deeply with the values of justice, self-determination, and restoration, and his role as a beacon of hope and moral regeneration in our time. Congratulates Inkosi Yomoya for receiving this well-deserved recognition and salutes his unwavering commitment to peace and betterment of the humanity through African spirituality. Calls on all South Africans to draw inspiration from Dr. Zwilezwe's example of fostering a united, peaceful, and just society that upholds the values of African spirituality. I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The ANC.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. The African National Congress moved without notice that the House notes with sadness the tragic loss of 15 lives in a fatal road crash on the R63 between Adelaide and Mangoba Eastern Cape on Saturday, May 3, 2025. We also understand a white Toyota Quantum minibus traveling from King Williamstown to Cape Town collided head-on with Isuzu double cab at Kwamangaba direction, Fort Beaufort, on the R36 road and about midnight. We also acknowledge that the investigation is ongoing on the cause of the accident by SAPS and provincial authorities. We also call on all road users to exercise maximum caution and remain vigilant on the roads, and we convey its heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families who lost their loved ones, also extends its support and well wishes to those who have been injured and are now in recovery. I so move. Thank you.
Now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. Rise Mzansi.
Okay, so much too. So as Rise Mzansi will continue to celebrate what's good about this country, and anyone that flies the South African flag very high. So we congratulate Amajita and the South African relay teams. That's move on behalf of Rise Mzansi that this House congratulate Stephanie Dimitrova and Shade Jansen for winning a silver medal at the 19th Senior African Rhythmic Gymnastics Championships hosted in Cairo, Egypt on the 3rd of May 2025. Further congratulates Dimitrova for winning a silver medal and 3 bronze medals at the same competition. Recognizes that these achievements will serve as an inspiration to other gymnasts in South Africa. Expresses gratitude to Dimitrova and Jansen for showcasing South Africa's potential on an international stage, and wishes Jansen and Dimitrova success with their future in gymnastics. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. Bosa. There's no motion. The ATM.
Thank you, Chair. The ATM moves without notice that the House notes with deep sadness the passing of Yolanda Nyembezi, a renowned South African Music Awards winning artist, due to illness. Recognizes that Yolanda was not only an exceptional musician, but a dedicated member of the 12 Apostles Church in Christ, TACC, led by Professor Caesar Nongqumba. where she played an active role in youth programs, inspiring and uplifting young people through her artistry and mentorship. Further recognizes that she was a music graduate from the University of Pretoria, demonstrating her commitment to both education and artistic excellence. Acknowledges the immense contribution she made to the South African music industry and the cultural landscape at large. Conveys its heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, loved ones, fans, and the entire music fraternity during this difficult time, and calls the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to prioritize the welfare and well-being of artists, ensuring that they receive the necessary support throughout their careers and in times of distress. Thank you.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. The African National Congress move without notice that the House note that three-time Olympian Elroy Geland shattered the SA record as a finished fourth in the Hamburg Marathon in a time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, 36 seconds on Sunday, 27th of April, 2025. Further acknowledge that Geland has produced an exceptional late career flourish as he has made the switch to the marathon from the shorter half marathon and 10-kilometer races in South Africa. Believes that testament to his quality over the 42.2-kilometer distance, Geland also finished 11th at the Paris Olympics in the men's marathon last year. Understand that Geland also set another personal best over 21.1 kilometer when he ran 60 minutes, 22 seconds in the Bashir Run half marathon in Belgium in March. Further understand that though he has made the switch to the marathon, Geland had been producing top results over every distance for the past 2 seasons, which includes setting a personal best over 10 kilometers on the road in August last year in Durban, when he clocked the incredible 27 minutes, 47 seconds. And we congratulate Geland on his many achievements and wishes him well in all his future endeavor. So I move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objection. Agreed to. Al-Jama.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Al-Jama moves without notice that the House notes the humanitarian act of 12 swimmers who braved the icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean on Freedom Day to raise funds for humanitarian assistance for Gaza. Further notes that the relay swimming to Robben Island and back to Blowbackstrand occurred on Freedom Day, 27 April 2025. Recognizes that among the 12 swimmers were 2 youths, Sarah Musaji, 11, and Aman Fatar, 18. Further recognizes that the swimmers are ordinary South Africans who have identified the Palestinian struggle against occupation and apartheid with our liberation struggle. Notes that the fundraising event raised 600,000, 100,000 more than its target of 500,000 towards the gift of the givers humanitarian assistance to Gaza. Further notes that the relay was a collective stand for humanity, which further served to recognize South Africa's achievement of democracy. Calls on the House to congratulate the organizers, Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and Gift of the Givers for their efforts in highlighting the plight of Palestinians and oppressed people throughout the world. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
ACDP objects.
The objection is acknowledged. The motion is not agreed to. It will be converted to a notice of motion. The DA.
House Chairperson, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move without notice that this House notes the tragic passing of 8-year-old Tlhakanipho Ndlovu, a learner at Injibuko Primary School in the Dr. Pixlika Isakaseme local municipality, who lost his life while attempting to cross the N11 after disembarking from his school bus on his way home, a few kilometers outside of Amersfoort in Mpumalanga. Conveys its heartfelt condolences to the Ndlovu family, Tlhakanipho's friends, educators, and the broader community on the Kliplot Drift farm in Amersfoort, Mpumalanga, who are not only grieving Tlhakanipho's life, but are gravely concerned about the safety of children commuting to and from school daily in the area. Acknowledges the ongoing risks faced by school children in Mpumalanga who rely on scholar transport managed by the Mpumalanga Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport. Learners are transported on dilapidated roads, often do not enjoy enough adult supervision on school buses, and lack safe drop-off and pick-up points, particularly in rural communities of this province. Calls on the Mpumalanga Departments of Education and Public Works, Roads and Transport to urgently improve the provision, management and safety of scholar transport in the Dr. Pixley Sakaseme municipal area and broader rural communities in this province. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The NCC. ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. The ANC, the African National Congress, move without notice that the House welcome the 35 years direct jail sentence given to two gang members by the Western Cape High Court on Wednesday, April 30, for the tragic murder of the 7-year-old Iman Solomons. Remembers that the killers, Ibn Basson and Chivago Fredericks of the Junkie Funky Kids gang, were convicted in February for the 2020 shooting that claimed the life of the grade 1 learner who was hit by stray bullets during the turf war in a street in Ocean View, Cape Town. Acknowledges that while the sentence would not bring back Iman, the family acknowledges the family of Iman can receive closure knowing that justice has been served, believes that the sentence will serve as a deterrent and send a clean message to those involved in gangsterism that crime does not pay, and commends that decision by the High Court that resulted in this long sentence. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The PAC. The UAT.
Thank you, Chairperson. Please allow me to sit. The UAT rise to move a motion without notice to congratulate the International Pentecostal Holiness Church and its esteemed leader, His Grace, Michael Sandlana, on the historic mass wedding ceremony that united 3,000 couples in Kanana City over the long Easter weekend. This momentous occasion stands as the largest and the most historic mass wedding in the history of our nation, symbolizing love, unity, and the power of faith. The event not only celebrated by sacred bond of marriage, but also demonstrated the IPAC's commitment to strengthening family values and fostering stable, God-centered unions. We commend His Grace, Michael Sandlana, for his visionary leadership and Church's thoughtful initiative to provide marriage counseling service, ensuring that these unions are built on a strong foundation for a lifelong happiness. This House recognizes the profound impact of this event on our society and extends its heartfelt congratulations to 3,000 couples as they embark on the beautiful journey together. May their marriage be filled with love, peace, and divine blessing. I so move. Kani mambo.
Honorable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. Good. The MK Party. Honorable members.
Motion without notice on food inflation and household hunger. Honorable Speaker, I rise on behalf of MK, Mkhonto Sizwe Party, to move without notice that this House notes the soaring cost of basic food items such as bread, maize, cooking oil, which has resulted in the widespread hunger, especially among the poor and the working class of our society. MK further notes the devastating impact of food inflation on child nutrition, household stability, and public health, particularly in rural and informal settlements. MK calls on this House to recommend that government must introduce targeted price controls on essential food items, Government must expand food relief and school nutrition programs and increase the support for small-scale local food producers, as well as long-term measure to stabilize food security. South Africa. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The DA.
House Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this House conveys condolences to the family of Councillor Xolile Kalipa from Stellenbosch, who was gunned down at his home on Sunday, the 4th of May. Note that Councillor Kalipa was a much-loved and deeply respected councillor for the Democratic Alliance who served as the mayoral committee member for community development. Further notes the Mayor of Stellenbosch, Jeremy Fraser's message at his memorial service held yesterday, the 12th of May, where he expressed a deep sense of loss, which is felt by all his colleagues at the municipality. Councillor Kalipa was a dedicated public servant, a voice for the voiceless, and a pillar of strength in his community. He was very passionate about the upliftment of his people, especially youth and women. Finally, that this House sends its sincere condolences to the loved ones of Councillor Kalipa. His contribution to the community development and his steadfast representation of his constituents will never be forgotten. May his soul rest in peace. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objection. Agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the senseless murder of Ilona Sombulula, a young prosecutor who was fatally shot on the evening of April 29 in Ngobo, Eastern Cape. Understand that Sombulula, 30, was official the National Prosecuting Authority and a graduate of the aspirant prosecutor program that he joined in 2022. Acknowledges that he was walking home from Tata when he was attacked near his residence. Calls on all relevant law enforcement agencies to act swiftly and diligently to uncover the truth behind his murder, and conveys heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family and friends of Ilona Sombulula. I so move.
Now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objection. Agreed to. Honourable members, that concludes motions without notice. The last item on the order paper is notices of motion. Does any member of the ANC wish to give a notice of motion?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that the House in its next sitting must debate strengthening the digital infrastructure, expanding cloud and broadcast and broadband access, and investing in AI literacy and future fit skills. Thank you, Chair.
DA.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House debates the urgent need to stimulate economic growth and create jobs in South Africa by fostering a business-friendly environment, investing in skills development, and promoting local economic growth. I so move.
MK.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the Umkhonto weSizwe Party to give notice that this House notes the recent legal action by the Democratic Alliance against the Employment Equity Amendment Act, a transformative law aimed at redressing apartheid-era imbalances and promoting workplace equity. Further notes that this action by the DA, while it sits in a so-called government of national unity, exposes deep ideological fractures and confirms that this arrangement is not a unity government, but rather a fragile coalition of convenience. Hereby calls on this House to demand clarity from the executive on how it intends to function with coalition members that are actively undermining progressive legislation, and to initiate a debate on whether this arrangement still enjoys legitimacy in the eyes of the people. I so move.
The EFF.
Thanks so much, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in the next sitting the House debates the critical and ongoing crisis in informal settlements across the Western Cape, particularly in areas such as West Bank, Sodoma, Dunon, Delft, Maspumelele, Fishhook, Jos Lobo, Atlantis, and others. These areas, predominantly home to Black and colored South Africans, are overcrowded with shacks and subjected to raw sewage spillage, which poses serious health risk and contributes to the spread of waterborne diseases. Notes the severe lack of basic services and adequate infrastructure in this settlement, which is a direct result of systematic inequality. This crisis is exacerbated by the frequent shack fires, where entire areas are destroyed, lives are lost, and people are injured. The tragedies are a clear indication of the government's failure to protect its citizens. Acknowledge that it is imperative the House urgently debates these bread and butter issues and demands immediate action to ensure that all South Africans, regardless of race, have access to decent housing, basic sanitation,
Remember,
and a
your
safe
time has
environment
expired.
to live in. I so move. Thank you.
The ANC.
I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that the House at its next sitting debates the need for the water sector to have a strong, independent regulatory framework that enforces standards, regulates tariffs, and protects consumers and service providers alike. I so move.
Thank you. The IFP.
On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I hereby give notice that I shall move at the next sitting of this House, that this House debates the dangers posed to South Africa's national security by corrupt officials in the Department of Home Affairs. I so move. Thank you.
The PA.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby give notice that at the next sitting of this House, I shall move on a motion on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance. I will move that the Department of Correctional Services take urgent measures to ensure that inmates receive accredited vocational training as part of their rehabilitation and reintegration programs so that ex-inmates can contribute meaningfully to the economy and reduce recidivism rates. I so move.
The FF Plus.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, I hereby give notice on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus that the House at its next session debates the problems regarding the overtime payment of doctors in public hospitals, the devastating effects that these non-payments have on the lives of doctors and patients, and urgent measures to resolve these problems. I so move.
Action SA.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I, Khosi Letlape, on behalf of Action SA, move that the House debates at its next sitting the urgent need to address the stagnation of South Africa's transformation agenda, as key socioeconomic indicators continue to regress without the necessary urgency in policy reform, and that decisive action is imperative to prevent the deepening of entrenched divisions and to secure a more inclusive, prosperous, and cohesive future. I so move.
The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the ANC that the House at its next sitting must debate the need to accelerate the leveraging of our critical minerals endowment, working with other countries in Southern Africa. I thank you.
The ACDP.
I will move on behalf of the ACDP at the next sitting of the House that the House debates the serious allegations of bribery and corruption at the Mthatha High Court, where court officials allegedly solicit bribes from attorneys of up to 15,000 Rand before doing routine tasks and processing civil cases before the court. Thank you.
The DA.
Honorable House Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I would like to propose that this House at its next sitting debate the potential of unutilized high potential arable land under communal land ownership and how it can become productive and an engine of economic growth and job creation in the agricultural sector. I so move.
MK.
Ngibonge mhlali ngaphambili. I rise on behalf of Umkhonto Wesizwe Party to give notice that I shall move at the next sitting of this House, that this House notes the ongoing budget impasse, which has placed the payment of social grants, public sector wages, and essential government services at a serious risk. Further notes that this crisis was not exposed by internal oversight or parliamentary vigilance, but rather by the actions of ordinary citizens and political forces such as Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, who took to the streets and courts to demand lawful governance and financial accountability. I hereby call this House to urgently debate the implications of this failure and to recommend legislative and procedural reforms to protect the budget process from political recklessness and restore trust in the state financial management. I so move.
EFF.
Olibuwa Mulanga Butano, tsa lihoro la economic freedom fighters, ritama uziteveraho kainondo.
Honorable member, can you just hold, please? There's a member on the platform that's disturbing the proceedings. Can you just mute that member, please?
Yeah,
Or remove the member from the platform. You may proceed, honorable member.
Must I start afresh? Ndolibuwa Mulanga Butano, salihoro la economic freedom fighters, ritama udzinginya zviteveraho kainondo. In the next sitting, the House to debate the devastating consequences and impacts of waste management challenges in the country and the national shift towards zero landfill municipalities. This is particularly urgent in the context of rising illegal dumping, inadequate refuse collection, rapid urban migration, and severe vacancy and resource constraints facing municipal waste management departments. I so move.
The UDM. ANC.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress
No.
that the House in its next sitting must debate the introduction of the basic income grant as the social welfare protection for the vulnerable poor majority trapped in unemployment, hunger and poverty. So I move.
I see there's two UDM members on the
UDM is here.
platform.
It's here, Honorable Chair.
Yes, we called you and you didn't respond. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. On behalf of the UDM, I hereby move that the House on its next sitting debate the challenges facing the Limpopo Provincial Department of Health and local municipalities following the discovery of approximately 40 bodies buried without coffins in two paupers' graves at the Mokgopong Cemetery. This was allegedly carried out by a funeral parlor contracted by the department. The House must urgently call for accountability and the implementation of preventative measures to ensure such incidents do not occur in future. I so move.
Vice Mzansi.
I move on behalf of Rise Mzansi and the people of South Africa that at its next sitting, the House debate the recent increases in road crashes caused by coal trucks on Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal roads and the impact that they have on safety and the state of roads in these provinces. I so move.
Thank you. Pausa.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move on behalf of Build One South Africa that the House at its next sitting debate the recently released quarterly labor force survey results with a particular reference to the persistent and deepening skills crisis among South Africa's youth and the urgent need for scalable, future-focused interventions that align with education, training, and economic opportunities. I so move.
ATM.
I move on behalf of ATM that in the next sitting, the House debates
the continued non-recognition of the Kingdom of Amahlobi by the Democratic Government of South Africa. King Langalibalele I was the first political prisoner sentenced to Robben Island for resisting the brutal and illegitimate colonial authority. Amahlobi were among the earliest to experience violent dispossessions, suppression of sovereignty under colonial and apartheid rule. Failure to restore Amahlobi Kingdom is not only an injustice to Amahlobi, but a broader indictment on South Africa's commitment to fully restoring all kingships that were destroyed by the colonial conquest. True reconciliation and transformation require equal recognition of all traditional leaders and communities whose sovereignty and identity were suppressed under the colonial and apartheid regime. I so move.
The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that the House at its next sitting must debate driving infrastructure development, which will also drive industrialization through localization. I so move. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. Al-Jama.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of Al-Jama that the House at the next sitting debates the ongoing use of cinnamide Dormex, a highly hazardous pesticide that should be banned from use on agricultural farms due to the health risk to farm workers. The non-governmental organization Women on Farms Project repeated calls on government to ban 67 hazardous pesticides should not be ignored. I so move.
The DA.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the failures of consequence management in South African Police Service, the obstruction of internal discipline by organized labor, and the urgent need to reform oversight of the Presidential Protection Services, with specific reference to the recent case where 8 members of the Presidential Protection Services were acquitted following an internal disciplinary hearing after they were recorded on film assaulting innocent civilians on the N1 highway. I so move.
The NCC. The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that the House at its next sitting debates utilizing sectoral productive capacity and identifying new growth areas to diversify the economy. I thank you.
Thank you. The PAC. UAT.
Thank you, Chairperson. The United African Transformation hereby moves that this House consider the immediate withdrawal of South African citizenship from the white Afrikaners who have voluntarily emigrated to the United States of America and have publicly demonstrated disloyalty to the Republic of South Africa. I so move.
Good. MK. MK.
Honorable Speaker, I rise on behalf of Umkhonto Sizwe Party to give notice that I shall move at the next sitting of this House, that this House notes the widespread collapse of local government across South Africa, with over 80% of municipalities in financial distress and failing to deliver basic services such as water, sanitation, and refuse removal. Further notes that despite numerous warnings, audit findings, and community protests, the Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs has failed to implement meaningful interventions to arrest this decline. Hereby calls on this House to review the current framework for municipal oversight, including Section 139 interventions, and to establish a multi-party parliamentary task team to oversee and report on government responses to local government dysfunction. I so move. Thank you.
The DA.
I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at the next sitting we debate the critical water issues of sewage spillage impacting on availability and quality of water in municipalities, as is evident from the 164 directives issued by the Department of Water and Sanitation from 2019 till 2024. I so move.
The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that the House at its next sitting debates reforming the economy's ownership, management, and control patterns in favor of all South Africans with a focus on the marginalized, vulnerable, and poor who are primarily Africans and women. I so move.
Honourable members, that concludes notice of motion. I request members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and mace to leave the chamber. That concludes the business for the day and the House is adjourned.